stressful it was and said, you know what, I just have to have some fun in here. And so I was doing a little bit of dancing and putting together, the moon landing and just doing different things, just trying to have fun and talking to my family and all of that. But you never know how you're being portrayed while you're in that house. Being locked away and not having any communication with the outside world, I didn't want to come out after 93 days and have them say, oh, yeah, you were portrayed as a bumbling old fool who never had a clue what was going on, and people just hated you. And so, yeah, to get the recognition that at least a segment enjoyed watching me is amazing confirmation and made me incredibly excited. I like Tommy, as I said before, even though we really never worked together that much in the house just because of the circumstances. I love the guy, and he was so full of energy, and I would have been shocked if he wasn't one of the top three. And of course, Nicole, she's my girl in there. She said several times, oh, I'm afraid people won't even know who I am. I haven't done anything. And I tried to tell her on multiple occasions that, Nicole, I don't know for certain, but in reality, I do know that people are in love with you. There is no way that they don't know who you are. You're going to be America's sweetheart for Big Brother 21. I could just tell because that's just Nicole. And I was so happy to see her reaction and her getting the confirmation of how much people loved her on that stage that last night. So, yeah, I got to be honest, as far as the top three for America's Favorite, I'm pretty happy with the three people that were up there. I was very excited, very happy. It was, I love getting some confirmation that some people enjoyed watching this play.
Awesome. So I got to say this, and I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Of the older players, I think of the Pantheon for me, I got to say Jerry, I got to say Rennie, I got to say Shelly, and I got to say you are the top four older players.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that.
Because here's the thing. I've noticed, and no offense to Kevin or to Steve or to Glenn or to Jody, but of all the older players, you guys really busted that archetype open.
Yeah, it was interesting because I do think, and I've said several times, the older player seems like is kind of a throwaway person at times, and especially this season. I mean, there's some seasons where you may have a 40-year-old or something, but I'm 54 years old, and I was in the house with pretty much all 20-year-olds, so there's quite the age gap in there, and I didn't go in thinking that I was going to play the whole season as just a floater that people would take to the very end and not worry about it just because you've never done anything. I had to fight throughout that thing. I had to do, from competition standpoint, I had to fight to stay in the house. I had to make deals. I controlled and had influence in some of the big decisions that were made. So I do feel like I was an active player from start to finish. Good decisions, bad decisions, whatever. I was not just someone off on the sidelines that got taken just as an afterthought. And so that part makes me proud. Watching Jerry when he played, he's one of my heroes just because he was so much older than everyone else, and he found a way to make it final three, if I recall. So. And I gotta say, I mean, Kevin, when I watched him a couple of years ago, he's the one that gave me some hope and inspiration. Even though he and I played different games in the way we did it from week to week, seeing him get as far as he did give me hope that there was a path if I was just willing to adapt and adjust to what was happening in the house that I could go a long way. And yeah, and I'm proud. I'm proud of how I did because I know going in, no one picked the old guy is making it to a Final Four position in this game. So it wasn't always easy trying to fit in with all the younger people. Sometimes I felt very isolated in that house, but I did what I could to be just another contestant in there and try not to make age the difference.
Alrighty, so over the past few seasons, I've Law Productions and casting, we've seen only cast one or two of you guys, of the older house guests. And because what I mentioned with your recent success on the show, do you think they should consider casting additional older house guests?
Yeah, I'd like to see a bigger range. I don't necessarily want to see a season where there's a bunch of 20-somethings and then there's just 2 or 3 50-year-olds or something. I'd be curious to see a range where we get some, a mix of 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds. If we can get a range from top to bottom without just that one outlier any direction, I'd be real curious to see how a group such as that would work together. In our season, Jessica and myself and Sam had families and had kids, married and such. And I'd be curious to see what would happen if you had more people in the game that weren't all just singles looking for showmances, but you actually had a little bit more of a mix of all different ages, all different social status, marriage status, everything else, and just see how that changes things up.
And that's why I liked Big Brother 10 and Big Brother 13.
I'm trying to remember who was on 10 and 13.
It was, if I remember correctly, it was Dan Giesling's first season.
Okay, yeah.
And it was Jerry and Rennie, plus you had Jesse and Dan.
Okay, yeah.
And Michelle.
Yeah, it's interesting when you have such a larger group of younger people, and maybe that's the way to some degree that Big Brother they've chosen to go. I do feel like maybe we're getting more physical challenges than we had in the past and earlier seasons, and with more physical challenges, maybe they feel like they need more younger players. Seems like there's a little more focus on showmances and all of that, and to get that, you need the younger folks as well. So, I don't know. I'd like to see it mixed up every once in a while, even if it's not done every season. But I'd be curious to see what would happen, how the game would change if you had an older average age in there for at least just one season, and see what happens.
Speaking of it being aggressively challenges, I got to say I remember listening to Taron Armstrong and several other Big Brother commentators saying that it's getting way too much physical. Do you think they need to have, in your opinion, should they go back to older seasons where it was basically more mental near the end?
Well, I certainly would like to see that from a very personal, biased objective. I've read some things saying that, the physical challenges maybe are a little more exciting for viewers to watch than someone that's just pushing a button or changing out cards, things like that. And I guess I get that, but I like having a little more balance with the mental, and it just gives everyone, I think, an opportunity and forces people to be a little more well-rounded in order to get to the end. And certainly we were thinking there were going to be more mental challenges at the end of this season, and that played a huge role in Nicole and I making our decision regarding Tommy versus Holly, because Tommy was just such a huge mental threat. He was so smart and knew faces and dates and everything else. And as it turns out, it was more physical challenges at the end than we had expected. But yeah, I've always liked the mental challenges. And the physical part, I knew going in I wasn't going to win a whole lot of the super physical challenges. And there were several of them where it quickly became obvious that I'm not winning this sucker, but I wasn't going to let the game beat me either. And I still wanted to finish it and be done and walk away with my head held high. But yeah, I'd love to see more mental challenges. Having said that, if Big Brother 22 comes along and it's 60-70% mental challenges, I'm going to be upset that I was in 21 and not 22, because I think that would benefit my game.
Speaking of 22, Big Brother celebrating 20 years along with Survivor. And why do you think Big Brother has lasted so long while other reality television shows had to either A, were canceled, or B, rebooted?
Yeah, I think I think there's several times. One, I think it's brilliant that they do it during the summer. They had Over the Top, and then they had the one season during the writer's strike that was in the fall or the winter. I can't recall, but for the most part, it's just that summer recreation. Everyone looks forward to it every year. I think it's the combination of the strategy and the physical aspects of the game. Big Brother in particular, I think a lot of it just has to do with, it's all about relationships. You can be someone like Jackson and win so many challenges, but if you can't talk to other people and work with other people and develop relationships, there's still not a guarantee that you're going to win the game. It's that social component and watching people, for the most part, regular people that are throwing it together, a very diverse set of regular people are throwing it together and forced to interact with each other, and knowing that if you can't interact with each other, you're out the door. That's what's always excited me and what's made me such a fan of Big Brother is the fact that it's all about finding a lot of different people and finding ways that you can get along with all these different people.
Awesome. And here's the thing. We all saw in Halloween time that Julie went into the Big Brother house and dressed up as several house guests. Yeah. Everybody was thinking it's the 20th anniversary, All-Stars. If they were doing All-Stars, would you, for the second go-around, would you consider it?
Oh, yeah, in a heartbeat. I've never been one to say no to adventure, and if they asked me back, I would absolutely jump at the occasion to do it. Don't know if they will or not, age-wise and all of that, but I'd love to go back in the house, and it would be real interesting. I'd have to think long and hard. Would I play the game exactly the same way, or would I come in and suddenly be a lying, deceitful person and completely flip the way I played the first game, flip it on its ear and try a different approach? It would be fun. I've never been a huge fan of bringing vets back. I was so happy it was all newbies in our season. But now having played the game, I do see going back in so many opportunities where you know so much more about what's involved in that game. And there's a lot of things that I could do differently that would be a lot of fun to see how my performance went if I flip things up here and there.
Yeah, and Survivor winners at war, they would be $22 million against all the winners. I'm thinking for the bet, like for Big Brother, like when my thinking was for All-Star season, do the celebrity or like in between the earlier seasons, like with 60 days, and bring back 40 of the best people, 20 men, 20 women, and then put in the cash prize of $1 million.
Yeah, I'd love to see it, and it would be kind of interesting as well if I don't know if there's enough Big Brother winners that would be willing to do it, that you would have just winner season, but if you could bring back the people who spent a lot of time in that house, and maybe instead of 16 people, you have a lot more people, and you boot them out. You have evictions twice a week instead of just once a week. You do some things there, completely change up the game and force everyone to accept some new conditions and see how they perform in a follow-up season. That'd be a lot of fun.
It's not just the winners it's not just the winners I'm like looking at like Dr. Will and then June Song and Dan, but like people like Janelle or Tyler or Paul or Frankie Grande or Jesse Goddard.
There are a lot of people that I'd love to see back in that game that maybe didn't win, but I don't think you have to win the game in order to have played a good game and a strategic game, and there's a lot of people. It'd be hard to trim the list down to a manageable number because I've seen so many people that just came so close and didn't quite make it, but played amazing, fun games to watch.
Absolutely. So speaking of games, there are 3 other games. Have you thought about going on like Survivor or Amazing Race or Sequester?
Yeah, it would. I have not seen Sequester, so I don't know as much about that. I've heard plenty of people talking, but Amazing Race and Survivor. Survivor was the first show I ever watched. I'd love to do that. Amazing Race, I've been all over the world in my profession. I really have been everywhere, and I've always thought it'd be fun to do Amazing Race. For instance, Nicole had never even been out of the country before. Until after she got out of Big Brother, and she and I went up to Canada to do a promotion together. And that's the first time she'd ever left the United States. I've always thought it'd be pretty funny for Nicole and I to be an Amazing Race team, me having all the experience in the world and her having none, and just see how the two of us would do. But either one of Amazing Race and Survivor, I love both of those shows. I'm a reality TV junkie. There's a lot of shows. Now, don't put me on Top Chef and don't put me on Design Star or some of those things. But in terms of the reality competitions, I'd love to see some of those other programs and be involved with them also.
Alrighty. So if you had, this is my second to last